Jalen Rose. I'm David Jacoby. We are Jalen and Jacoby. What is it that we do?
We give the people.
Oh, no. I always get nervous when you do this.
What they want.
Jalen is fired up because we have WNBA champion Sue Bird joining us later on the show. We also have a coronavirus crisis in the NFL, but we start with Game 4 of the NBA Finals. And Jalen, it was a contested game. It was a close game. And after LeBron James had an odd first half, he turned it on in the second half. What did you see from King James?
I saw consistent greatness that has now put the Los Angeles Lakers one game away from achieving their 17th championship. And let me pay homage where it's due. Big shout to my former teammate, Rob Pelinka. I remember those turbulent days where people were assassinating his character after they were able to acquire LeBron James. Magic Johnson was the catalyst to making that happen. And people didn't think he was going to be able to rebuild the roster in championship form. You add Anthony Davis. Now a key chess move, shout to my brother Rich Paul, because he represents LeBron. He represents AD. You know who else he represents? He represents Keith Morris. He represents KCP. All of those people were needed for the Lakers to get to this point. So I want to make sure, as much as we're acknowledging the greatness that's happening on the floor, I now I am fortunate that I can see this as a Rich Paul championship, and I'm happy about seeing a friend of mine ascend to be the best in the game and put his fingerprints all over this team so that now when LeBron and AD don't necessarily have 65 points, KCP, who the Lakers dealt with some turbulence off the floor with him, he was there before LeBron. He balled in the first. He balled in the fourth. And so I just wanted to acknowledge that because it's beautiful to watch all of these things come into play because the Lakers are about to win their next championship.
I'm glad you did acknowledge that because Kentavious Caldwell-Pope has a strange relationship with the Lakers because they have always looked at him and looked at his deals and been like, are these wink-wink deals to try to draw LeBron? Is this because he's represented by Rich Paul? And he earned every penny that he's ever been paid by this organization last night. 2 huge buckets at the end. That one right there driving to the hole, finishing with his knuckles at the backboard, and a big 3 at the end. He had 3 threes, and don't sleep on this, 5 assists. He was a playmaker. It was a great performance from KCP when, frankly, they needed it. LeBron James had a very curious first half and turnovers, only had 8 points. He turned it on in the second half. AD had a great game on the defensive end. I think one of the keys to this win was them saying, you know what we're going to do, Jimmy Butler? We're going to put who I think should be the Defensive Player of the Year, who was the second to Giannis in the Defensive Player of the Year voting, on Jimmy Butler. Why was that so important, and what did it do to Butler's game?
It was major, Jacoby, because if LeBron's going to lead the team in points, rebounds, and assists, this is why he's the MVP player. During the regular season, AD led in points and rebounds. If LeBron's going to do that in the finals and now lead us in scoring, AD got to do something else big to contribute. And that had to be get down in the defensive stance, use his height, use his ability to guard Jimmy Butler. And watching him mature throughout these playoffs, I'm talking about Anthony Davis, and make big-time threes and timely defensive plays and big-time blocks, just understanding that this is why he went to LA to join LeBron. And Jimmy Butler had his way against that squad in the previous game. You must take away his mid-range. You must take away his paint open looks. That's why you put the height, that's why you put the ability and the length of Anthony Davis on him.
Because watching the first quarter of this game, coming off of that performance in Game 3, there's a part of me that was like, wait, he's 5 for 5? Like, is this going to be the Jimmy Butler finals? And then what happened was they just tightened the screws. And they said, you know what, Jimmy Butler, every time someone sets a pick for you, we're going underneath it. And I thought that was really smart because they knew he had 40 points in the previous game. They also know that he attempted 0 threes, and they dared him to shoot the threes. They dared him to take jump shots, and he just didn't do it. So you and I watch all the games, but you always notice something that no one else notices, and you notice something about Anthony Davis that you wanted to articulate. What exactly is that?
I saw people fall on the floor for different reasons. Dwayne Wade always sacrificed his body. So did Allen Iverson. So when they drove to the basket and they got contact, they're going to fall and get back up. That was just their persona and their toughness. Joel Embiid, I think, falls a lot because of his injury history and just kind of has like some rubbery legs sometimes, and it's okay. Just kind of no breaks. For Anthony Davis, watching LeBron bring him to championship level performance, it reminds me of what I saw with the late, great Kobe Bryant bringing Pau Gasol to this championship performance. Because when you're the best player in New Orleans or even in Los Angeles and you continue to fall on the floor the way Anthony Davis does, what it is, it's almost like watching boxing, Jacoby, and he's a young fighter. They're just getting used to the championship rounds. You know, somebody hit my leg, you know, somebody poked me in the eye. It's like, oh man. And then I got to get back up because that's what it's going to take. And so this time next year, when the Lakers are potentially playing in the Western Conference Finals against the Golden State Warriors probably, or even the Clippers, depending on who they hire as the coach, I guarantee you don't see AD falling on the floor as much. He's not going to be as fragile when it comes to that contact in the big games. He's going to be delivering the blows. Right now, he's accepting them, but his teammates around him are picking him up, and he could do something else like play defense to help his team still win.
It was his defense on Jimmy Butler that completely changed the complexion of this game because Butler started so hot in this one, and then Anthony Davis, just his length and his size. And when Butler was going to the hoop, he goes right every time, puts his shoulder in his defender, and then tries to finish. He does it every single time. And when you put your shoulder into Anthony Davis, as we saw towards the end of the game, Anthony Davis is just so long and so good and so agile that he just got that big block on Butler towards the end. And Jalen, there's something that's important that's happening right now. Right now, this is an elimination game for the Heat. We know the Heat are going to show up. And when a team's back is to the wall, we've seen this with Denver. When a team's back into the wall, sometimes you get their best performances. Miami is known for their toughness, their culture, and their guts. So what Frank Vogel's going to need to do is he's going to need to motivate his Los Angeles Lakers team. And I know exactly how he's going to do it. If I'm Frank Vogel, I'm saying here, if we win, we leave. Do you want to leave your hotel room? Do you want to sleep in your own bed? Do you want to eat some actual home-cooked food? Well, guess what? If we win this game on Friday, we leave. If we don't, we stay in Orlando. It's been great here in Disney Complex. Love how they've hosted us. I love how the league has put on this event. But guess what? If we win Game 5, we leave. And that's exactly what I expect to happen. What are your expectations for Game 5 Friday night?
Like I just mentioned, I see AD continuing to get his man bones, and I see him having a huge game. But however, the Miami Heat wouldn't be who they are if they didn't win games that were unexpected to everybody else. That's how they got out of the East. They don't have the talent on paper that Philly has, but Jimmy Butler left them. Philly had to get a new coach. What about Boston and those lottery picks? Toronto was the defending world champions. They found a way to get it done. They didn't have Giannis the back-to-back MVP. And the way Jimmy played when they got their win, without Bam, without Goran, we didn't see that coming. So now in Game 5, this is when the Miami Heat show what you just said. That toughness, that culture, and that ability to rise up and play with a level of physicality when they need it the most. And I think Bam has to be the guy. 3 different times yesterday. Rajon Rondo layup late. KCP's layup late. Anthony Davis 3, he was a weak side or a primary defender. Usually on those plays, he's a step ahead of the play. He was a step behind and a little hesitant. I think he'll be better in the next game.
Jalen, there's something I noticed about LeBron James, especially this season and especially in the bubble, that we need to break down in detail that you won't get anywhere else on this network or others. It's time for me and you to go to the table. Jalen, I'm an extremely sweaty person. I'm an extremely sweaty person, especially when I play basketball. I need a towel and like 3 T-shirts when I play pickup basketball. And I've noticed that there's one thing that me and LeBron James have in common, and that is being really concerned about the sweat on your hands. He LeBron James is the Michael Jordan of making sure that his hands aren't sweaty. I know we're going to talk about him and MJ comparisons, but he's constantly wiping his hands on his shirt. Look right here. With the ball in his hands, wipes the hand, and then takes the fadeaway. He starts the game with the powder toss to get a little dryness on his hands, and he spends every whistle just going like this to keep his hands dry. Why is LeBron James so hyper concerned and obsessive about keeping his hands dry while he plays basketball?
Well, he's not the Michael Jordan of doing that. Let me tell you who actually that is. He's also an MVP, a two-time one. That's Steve Nash. He's the master of doing that. I actually saw him do it, I think, actually first, if I was saying who I saw do it first. But you're not about to. In my 18th year of covering the NBA Finals, get me on this television.
To you live from Pier 17 in the South Street Seaport District of Manhattan, and brought to you by Chase. Welcome back to Jalen and Jacoby. Jalen's time for you to decide what we discuss. It's Keep It Moving.
Wu-Tang! Wu-Tang!
If you want to discuss topics, say hit the brakes. Otherwise, we keep it moving, and we start with a corona crisis in the NFL. Keep it moving or hit the brakes.
Hit the brakes.
Just new today, we have a confirmed case on the New England Patriots with Stephon Gilmore. We have 2 more cases with the Titans and another case with the Raiders. Jalen, what does all of this mean with the NFL?
It means that there's going to be some phony hot take conspiracies across the world that says the Patriots have more people opt out than anybody. Now Cam Newton tested, and now Stephon Gilmore tested. Like, Bill Belichick is so much smarter than everybody else. Maybe he's considering doing his next move. This is something that's going to happen all season. They're not in a bubble, Jacoby. There aren't any surprises. They're going to do what they can to continue to navigate the year. When these cases pop up, if they don't happen in mass on one team, they're going to do like they just did with Cam. They're going to have him not play, and they're going to continue the game. I believe that's what they'll try to do in this case as well.
It's like I've said before, this feels like a boat that had a big hole in it with the Titans. And then they try to plug the hole by rescheduling the Steelers game. And there was another hole, and they can move the Patriots game from Sunday to Monday. And now there just seems to be at some point there's going to be a lot of holes in this boat, and I hope there's not a full breach. I hope that we get a full 17-week NFL season with a full playoffs. However, with every single case on a new team that pops up, I get more and more concerned that that will not be what happens. Jalen, we have some news about the starting quarterback on the Washington football team. Keep moving or hit the brakes.
Hit the brakes on this one.
Kyle Allen, formerly of the Panthers, who Ron Rivera was the coach of, is now the coach of the football team, is now been named the starter. But not only that, Alex Smith is the backup, and Dwayne Haskins is now 3rd on the depth chart for the Washington football team. What does that tell you about Haskins' future in Washington?
Dysfunction. It reminded me of a song with Conjunction Junction, what's your function? I remember that. They used to sing hymns to teach us math, and I thought that was so intelligent. We should bring that back for television. Dwayne Haskins is a young quarterback in the NFL. He got drafted to an unstable situation. We saw the work he put in at Ohio State. Unfortunately for me, I saw it firsthand. He threw 50 touchdowns, Jacoby. It seemed like he threw them all against my Wolverines. Okay, he's a terrific prospect. If you draft him as high as you did, why are you putting Kyle Allen in the game? What is that saying to your team? What does that say to your franchise? What does that say to his future? I know when you change coaches, they're not married to the quarterback, and I can't necessarily put it on Rivera because he just got there, but it just shows me the dysfunction when you feel like you're drafting a franchise quarterback and 2 years later, you're benching him for somebody that you know is not the future. I just don't understand that logic. I just don't.
Jalen, there are some rumors about a superstar, future Hall of Famer coming to the New York Knicks. Keep it moving or hit the brakes.
We're going to hear a lot of Chris Paul rumors this offseason. Keep it moving for now.
We keep it moving. We keep it moving.
And very quickly, Glenn Rivers wants to be called Glenn Rivers. Keep moving or hit the brakes.
Hit the brakes.
Glenn Rivers no longer wants to be called Doc Rivers out of respect for whom, Mr. Rose?
The Julius the Doctor Irving! You know I used to write my autographs Dr. J when I was little. You couldn't tell me I wasn't the good doctor. And watch,
Jalen.
Show that move when he did it against Michael Cooper. We got that one there. From
Jalen.
the cradle to the grave. I love the good doctor. And he's a gentleman.
WNBA champion Sue Bird joining us. Stay tuned for that.
Champ is here.
Welcome back to Jalen and Jacoby. Jalen, the champ is here.
The champ
Sue
is here.
Bird of the newly crowned WNBA champion Seattle Storm joins the program. Sue, thank you so much for taking the time.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah.
So you just won your 4th WNBA title with the Storm, and you said that this team was built for the bubble. What do you mean by that?
We're just super chill. And this is like a really weird experience where if you had like I guess like an emotional team, right? One that like got caught up in the highs, got caught up in the lows, it might be a struggle. But we're just such a chill team. We've been together for a couple years now, so we know each other really well, no drama. So that's why we're built for the bubble. And I mean, in fairness, we had our whole roster. Not a lot of teams did, but all in all, built for the bubble.
So you're a terrific floor general, and I want to celebrate your greatness because when you and I stack our resumes up, we have a lot in common when we put them together. Like 5 championships in Russia, 5 Euro Leagues, 4 WNBA, multiple first team all WNBA, 2 NCAA championships. We have 2 combined, Jacoby. But she does something that makes me jealous. She gets to play with Breanna Stewart. And I love Jokic for the Nuggets, and I feel the same way about Stewie. How does playing with her, has it changed your game?
You know, she's kept me young. She's kept me young. That's what she's done. It's not necessarily like changed my game. Playing with her is, as a point guard, the easiest thing. Anytime you can play with a post player who can shoot, someone who can pick and pop, someone who creates for herself and for others, it's super easy. But just having her and Jewel Lloyd, to be honest, these 2 young players coming in, #1 picks, I was at that weird moment. I was like 34, 35 when they got drafted. And so it was kind of like, this could go one way or the other. And they kept me young. So that's really how she's impacted my game the most.
All right, Sue, you know I have to ask. What was the celebration like, and how hungover are you today?
You know, the glasses are on for a reason. I felt like it would distract from what potentially my eyes could look like. You know, the celebration was different, but it was cool. I mean, we you know, there's no options for us. So in some ways that's good. We all kind of just kicked it together. There were some people from the other team too. The referees were around. I mean, this is Wubble life. It's strange, but we made the most of it. We had a DJ, obviously some alcoholic beverages involved, and then you know how the rest goes.
Yes. Well, you guys earned it and deserve it. How about we talk so much, and rightfully so, about LeBron James and leading his team potentially to a championship and being 35 years of age. You're 40 years of age. Tom Brady status. How longer do you plan on doing this? You still winning championships.
Yeah, I mean, that's the part, right? Like, I don't know if I was on maybe like a rebuilding team now or one that wasn't, you know, able to compete for championships, it might be different. But it's pretty motivating when you're on this team with youngsters. I mean, you talk about LeBron teaming up with a younger player, right? Him, Anthony Davis for him, it really does like rejuvenate. It gives you like it gives you years to think about. So that's kind of where I am right now. I can't imagine it would be too many more, but if I can still do it, I'm going to try.
In that game 3, you guys didn't start out hot. Anyone that sees the final score thinks it was a blowout from start to finish. At halftime, was it you were really motivated to win the game and sweep the Aces, or just to leave the Wubble? What was more motivating?
I'm like, yeah. So that's one of those moments you don't know what's actually you feel something, you don't know what the actual motivator is. But I have to be honest, like, they came out, like you said, they came out tough. Asia Wilson had 14 points in the first quarter. We couldn't get our transition game going. you know, and Bill Lambier liked to call us front runners. I think he was talking about our transition game though. But then after the first quarter, we looked at the score and we were up 2. So it was actually after the first quarter where we were like, guys, we just took like probably their best shot and we're up 2. So that's when we were like, okay, we're going to be all right.
Well, Sue, congratulations on the championship. We want to see you come back next season. We look forward to watching you for at least 5 more seasons. We'll be back tomorrow at 2 p.m. on